Have to go anywhere. I got to watch it right here in the comfort of my own home. I got to watch Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's new movie, and it wasn't very good. It's not really good. It's like one of those movies where I have like so much to say about it. There's so many things to unpack about it, like, and most of the things I have to say are not very good. But it's hard to figure out where to start. It's just kind of a derivative mess. It's very sloppy. I think their post production decision to split it into two movies was a mistake because they're on Netflix. It should have just been a miniseries. It's even structured like a miniseries. It's structured like a miniseries, but it's cut down to a feature film length, which is about 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and some change of actual movie, and everything is like super underdeveloped and undercooked. There's some cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like there's moments here and there that I thought were really good. Some kind of flashes of brilliance, but altogether, not very satisfying. Not very satisfying. And ironically, they play a teaser for the part two, the Scar Giver, whatever, fucking retarded. But anyways, so they have a teaser for the next part that's coming out in April, and I guess that's where they're gonna put all the character stuff. Now, if you had put this movie as one big movie, if this had been one big movie or one TV show or whatever, that would actually make sense. It would make sense that this is the part in the story where things kind of slow down and you can take inventory. The characters can kind of talk about their motivations and their lives, etc. But apparently they've shuffled that off to the last 2 hours of the movie. So the first 2 hours feels like just an opening act, and it's just not very satisfying in that way. The lead actress, Sophia Butel, mostly a model. She's a dancer. She's been in a few things. She was in Atomic Blonde. People really liked her in Atomic Blonde. She was also in The Mummy. The thing to note about most of the characters that she's played up until now is that they're mostly silent characters. They don't talk very much because her performance is like a story of two performances. There's the physicality, which she sells pretty well. I think, like, because she's a model and she looks really good. She looks gorgeous no matter what you kind of put her in. You can put her in like kind of pseudo Nazi Roman Warhammer 40K type of like outfits with a buzz cut, and she looks good. You can have her be a dirty farmer and she looks good, and she sells it. And she sells most of like the physicality, like the martial arts and stuff, because she's a dancer. She doesn't really need to know martial arts, but she knows how to sell movement on camera, and she does that very well. But as soon as she opens her mouth, the illusion is completely broken. Completely broken. She has the voice of like a 16-year-old girl, and it's very distracting. And it's almost like, so when you hear her like go, yeah, and like shout and stuff, it sounds awful. It just sounds it's so distracting, so corny. What's her name? Catwoman showed up. The Catwoman from the new Batman, the Batman with Robert Pattinson. Is that Lenny Kravitz's daughter? I think she's in this briefly as well. She's also awful. She has a very similar problem, where her physicality is excellent. She can really sell the physical nature of the character, but as soon as she opens her mouth, you just don't believe her anymore. Just feels inauthentic. Most of the cast is kind of underwhelming because a lot of them seem like they're kind of miscast, because they're cast for what they look like, for the aesthetics. Like that's what, Zack Snyder's all about, aesthetics. He's like, so he wants to kind of paint you a picture, and these are kind of like his Fabios. He hires like Fabio type actors that look good in slow motion, which there's tons of in this movie, which doesn't really bother me. It's a Zack Snyder signature thing. He's painting a picture with cinema. Like I get it. Like it's a frame. It's like a comic book panel. It's a frame. It's a big painting, and he does a really good job at it. And I think a lot of it looked really good in that respect. Some of the special effects though are kind of bad, but it's not like, it wasn't things that, like, it wasn't the ships, it wasn't like the lasers, it wasn't things like that. It was like the vistas. Anytime they had to kind of pull back and show the world, like a character standing juxtaposed, like it starts with Sophia Batel's character who is kind of a Mary Sue. She's like just good at everything. But anyways, she's kind of like just like a very masculine, like a dude. She's out there like plowing the field and moving a giant boulder like by herself while everybody else is already headed to the celebration. But she's just so into her work. You know, she needs to really save this place. She needs to be a contributing member of their society. She's got to prove herself. And you see her juxtaposed between like, and then there's like a giant planet behind her and all this kind of beautiful lighting and stuff, but it just looks fake. It looks like something out of a video game. And there's a lot of stuff, especially most of the stuff to do with the villain, which I think his name is Ed Screen. Ed Screen, I think his name is. He's the villain in Deadpool, the first Deadpool. Same actor. He's okay. He's not given a ton to do except for be like mustache twirling villain, and a lot of the stuff with him, special effects wise, was by far the worst. And I know that these are kind of like lower. They call these like lower budget Netflix movies. You know, they're like, well, you know, it cost $160 million for both of the movies. I was like, well, it started as one movie. I'm pretty sure it started as one movie. So you mean it cost $160 million rather, to make it, and then you split it into two, and now you're telling everybody, well, it's like $80 million a movie. I don't know about that. But yeah, and I think honestly, having that sequel so far out is going to just deflate all interest, because the ramp up here is not good. This is not a good ramp up. This is not a good start. Like immediately after watching the teaser, my interest in Rebel Moon and the universe of Rebel Moon is greatly diminished. Another thing worth noting relative to Rebel Moon, okay? They've already announced that there's going to be like an extended R-rated cut. They've kind of danced around whether or not like it's a director's cut. They're just selling it kind of as they're kind of trying to capitalize on the Snyder cut type thing. Like, oh, this is like the darker, more serious rated R cut of the movie. And Zack Snyder has been out there giving interviews, and he describes it as a completely different movie. So, I don't know. Maybe that's the good one. You know, maybe. I mean, that's par for the course for Zack Snyder. You know, the longer cuts are always better. They're always better. And maybe that'll be true with Rebel Moon. So I got my fingers crossed. I'm going to watch the theatrical one again to kind of really wrap my head around it, because I was very indifferent. Like when the credits rolled, I'm watching the movie and I just felt nothing. Like I keep up with my letterbox just for posterity. Like I like to just write a few notes down about what I thought about a movie, give it a rating, whatever, so I can look back in my life and remember if I've even fucking seen, like, oh yeah, I saw that movie. What did I think about that movie? It's very handy for that kind of stuff. But usually I'll do it like right away. I'll just pull out my phone and jot down a few things. This one I was just like kind of just sitting there befuddled, and I had plenty of opportunity. I could have done it. And I was just like, I don't even know, like, I can't even, like, get it up to fucking care, to, like, hate on the movie. It's so derivative. It's derivative to a fault. And it's derivative intentionally, too. Like, he took a gamble. He's trying to make a Star Wars for a new generation. He wants to retell that story. Because, you know, throughout fiction, throughout, you know, the species, throughout humanity's lifespan, we've been kind of telling that story over and over again. And this is just, he wanted this to be the new iteration of it, except he just assumes that you've seen all of the other things, so you understand what's going on. Like, you've seen Star Wars, you've seen Battle for the Stars, you've seen Seven Samurai, so you know what's going on, so I don't have to really, like, explain it to you. Which I think does the movie a disservice in terms of its legs for, like, longevity. You know? Because what if somebody watches that in like 25 years and doesn't understand what it's referencing? You know, believe it or not, Star Wars could fall out of the popular zeitgeist. Disney has diluted the brand to the degree that people don't even like. The word Star Wars just makes people feel physically ill now. But anyways, yeah. So I was not a big fan, and I am kind of a Snyder fan. I enjoy some good Snydering. But not so much there. Anyways,